This is the presentation video for CodeSCMAT 2021 virtual conference. This paper focuses on a few well-known issues of the medical domain such as lack of a large publicly available dataset, lack of pre-trained weights for medical tasks, limited availability of robust medical related neural network, limited transfer learning because of few options of well generalized deep neural networks. These problems are interlinked and depend upon each other. Suppose if we do not have a large dataset, it is difficult to generate generalizable pre-trained weights and a robust network. We attempt to resolve these interconnected issues by proposing a lightweight, robust mixed asymmetric kernel convolution neural network architecture. We call it MARCnet. The mixed kernel makes this network smaller but still keeps a rich feature space, and a large pseudo-labeled CT scans dataset annotated with the help of noisy student semi-supervised learning method. The purpose for this pseudo-labeled dataset is to boost the network performance and improve feature quality. We will be using two types of datasets in our experiments, labeled and unlabeled. The labeled dataset is the Deep Legion dataset. Deep Legion has over 3200 slices of dimension 512 cross 512. Yan et al. Developed a holistic approach for multi-label annotation that provides fine-grained 171 unique labels text mined from radiology reports for this dataset. Out of those, 115 body part labels are relevant for our task. At training and testing time, we combine three neighbor slices to make a RGB-like image to encode 3D information. The unlabeled collection is from the Cancer Image Archive. This is an extensive archive of publicly available medical datasets using their online data search portal along with anatomical site filters. We collected CT scan volumes corresponding to 115 body part labels. By retaining volumes with more than 50 slices and manually removing noisy ones, helped generate a little over 1.5 million unlabeled grayscale slices. As the dataset is unlabeled, there will be no patient privacy issues. The task we will be creating pseudo-labels for is body part and organs classification. This is a multi-label, multi-class classification problem. From the original Deep Legion dataset, we take 115 body part classes from small body parts like chest wall, pelvic wall, lymph node to large body parts like chest, abdomen, pelvis, as well as other classes such as the spine, bone, upper abdomen, extremity, thighs, etc. This dataset also contains body part parent-child relationships information. For example, the left lung has a parent class lungs, and lungs have a parent class chest, and the kidneys have a parent class abdomen, and so on. Note that our objective is little different from the Deep Legion's annotation and detection, but we will compare our network results with Deep Legion's result on Legion annotation and detection tasks to explain the benefits of domain-specific transfer learning later in this presentation. The drawback of large networks is over-parameterization, which means there will be a large amount of unused parameters in the network and will unnecessarily consume computation power. To avoid this, we propose a lightweight mixed asymmetric kernel network architecture. This network, the main component is the asymmetric kernel's convolution layer. As you can see on the left side of the figure, there are four types of kernels: a spatial or 2D, a vertical and a horizontal 1D, and a depth-wise kernel. The weighted output of these layers will be concatenated, and that will be the final output of the mark convolution layer. Here K is the kernel size. The purpose of having different types of kernels is to get rich feature space from various dimensions. For example, let's say the input number of filters to this layer is 64 and the desired number of output filter is 128. Each sub-convolution layer will take the whole 64 filters input and outputs 32 filters. After that, we will concatenate all 4 outputs to get the desired 128 output. Next, we have mix pool. This is simply a weighted linear combination of max pool and average pool. Next is the dense block. Depending on the input size, the dense block contains 4 or 6 densely connected marked convolution layers followed by a standard convolution layer and an attention module. Next is MarkNet's architecture. As you can see in the figure, it starts with a standard convolution layer followed by a marked convolution layer and a max pool layer. After that, there are 4 dense blocks with 64, 128 and 256 filters. At the end, we have a global concatenation pooling layer which is similar to a mix pool except it averages the spatial dimension to 1. After that, we use the divergence score propagation layer to enhance recall by implicitly learning the relations between labels followed by a fully connected layer. Due to the limited resources, we only compare our network with the commonly used networks in the medical domain. We compare our network with ResNet and VGG. We tried a couple of semi-supervised methods from which the noisy student provided us with better results. It is fairly simple but effective semi-supervised training approach. This method contains a teacher and a student network. In our case, the architecture of both teacher and student is the same. The learning process is shown in the figure. Here we trained a teacher network on labeled deep lesion data and predicted the pseudo labels for unlabeled TCIA images. Then we mixed the pseudo labeled dataset with the labeled ones and trained a student network. Note that the only difference between the teacher and student network is the added noise in the student network while training. The noise is simply the data augmentation and dropout. After training the student network, we convert the student to the teacher simply by removing the added noise parts. Now we will use this teacher network to again predict the labels for unlabeled TCIA dataset. This cycle will go on until convergence. You can also increase the size of the network after each iteration for more refinement, but we use the same network for every iteration to maintain a lightweight network. These are the comparison and results of the teacher network. As you can see that VGG16 has the higher number of parameters where MarkNet has around 4.5 million parameters while overall performs better than both ResNet and VGG. Therefore, we will use MarkNet for student network and pseudo labeling. These are the student network results for 5 iterations of pseudo labeling using noisy student method. The first row contains the teacher's result to compare with each iteration. Note that we will take the iteration number 4 results for further experiments. Analyzing the model's decision after training is also necessary to check the robustness. Also, network explainability is important in the medical domain to help to trust the network's decision. Consequently, in addition to the quantitative results, we attempt to explain the significance of the network's decision using 2 interrogation methods, which are integrated gradients and perturbation. Integrated gradients is a recently introduced alternative that avoids saturation. Saturation is caused by essential features to have tiny gradients. Integrated gradients creates a sequence of linearly interpolated images from baseline, which is a black image, to the input image, and integrating the gradients of the output concerning these series of interpolated images. This method provides both sensitivity to changes as well as invariance to implementation. The example in the figure are showing the integrated gradients with top 5 predicted labels and corresponding confidences for MarkNet, the second column, and for VGG, the last column. The green and red color text corresponds to true positive and false positive labels. Black represents labels with missing annotations, as not all the images in the dataset are assigned 5 labels. In perturbation, we use three different perturbation strategies: replacing an individual organ pixel with neighboring pixel, applying black patches in regions of interest, and the last one is deleting most influential pixels with a mask generated by integrated gradients. Figure shows one example of a perturbed image with corresponding top 5 predictions and confidence levels. Relative to VGG16, as MarkNet learns the implicit relationship between labels, no significant changes in label confidence level is observed for replacement and deletion, where masking salient region based on integrated gradients cause a significant drop in the confidence of original top 5 labels, highlighting the importance of the feature learned by the MarkNet. Using ImageNet's weight in the medical domain can limit feature space efficiency. However, the same domain pre-trained weights provide better feature space. This is an active area of research to analyze the effects of cross-domain and domain-specific transfer learning. To demonstrate the comparison of our domain-specific pre-trained weights and ImageNet weights, we will use the same task as deep lesion and compare the results with the results given in Yan et al. Paper for this experiment. The results are given in the table. The LaserNet network here is the network used in Yan et al. This network is based on VGG16 and author used ImageNet weights to initialize it and then fine-tune on deep lesion dataset. To compare, we trained a VGG16 network on TCIA pseudo-labeled dataset only and initialized the base of LaserNet, that is VGG16, with the trained weights, and then we fine-tuned this network on deep lesion's original task. The results are shown in the table for the same. Hence, it verifies that the generated pseudo-labels are helpful to boost the network performance. In conclusion, we demonstrate the utility of our proposed lightweight architecture with 60 to 70% fewer parameters in providing improved multi-label body part classification accuracy. We have also interrogated the network using attribution and perturbation techniques to understand its predictions. We are successfully able to produce a large medical dataset with meaningful pseudo-labels that can boost the network's performance. We also demonstrated the benefits of using domain-specific transfer learning with the help of a comparison experiment with cross-domain weights. We are looking forward to continue this work to improve the network performance and refining pseudo-labels for the TCIA dataset and hopefully extend this dataset to include more modalities like X-ray, MRI, and PET scans. Thank you.